Okay, excellent. So you can come on up.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Excellence Anurika Joshua, and I'm grateful to you for showing up today to listen to me. My journey into development engineering is very personal. I began my career as a medical laboratory scientist in Nigeria during the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. One day, I was mandated to take blood samples, with the same gloves from patients, and I vehemently refused. But this experience opened my eyes to the inefficiencies in healthcare resource allocation and inspired me to seek for ways to optimize systems for better outcomes. However, at that time, I was only an intern with no power or capacity to effect the change that I wanted. Life soon presented me with a new challenge. As a newly divorced single mom, I needed to reimagine my career to balance motherhood and flexibility, as well as financial stability. I learned digital skills and built a career freelancing, and what began as a personal survival strategy grew into a larger mission. I founded the Techy Incubator, a nonprofit focused on equipping African women with digital skills to create economic opportunities and break cycles of poverty. Through this initiative, we've trained over 10,000 African women across 35 countries, with more than 3,500 outsourcing their talents globally. Then I came here to Berkeley to study development engineering with a focus on healthcare transformations. I learned how inherently political development is. And here I've come to understand that structural change is the cornerstone of sustainable solutions, whether it's breaking down barriers for women in workforce or addressing inefficiencies in healthcare system. I've seen firsthand how designing for equity can create transformative outcomes. Looking ahead, after my program here, I plan to channel my development engineering expertise into healthcare transformations in low resource settings, particularly in maternal health. My work will focus on optimizing resource allocation and creating tech-enabled solutions to improve access to outcomes. I aim to design solutions that are impactful as they are scalable. As I culminate my program here, I opted to work on something very dear to my heart for my capstone: bridging a unique healthcare gap. This is my mom when she was 50, about 14 years ago. She celebrated her 50th birthday and we were all excited. But shortly after, she began to complain. She was very ill often, and we as the family, as well as doctors, could not place what was wrong. At first, the doctors thought the issues were with her thyroid, but in about 2 years, she had become worse, and as you can see at the middle, she had lost so much weight. We were confused and we thought we were going to lose her. In a bid to just stop every drug and just rest, she was tired of the reactions from the drugs and frustrated and in so much pain. She opted to take multivitamins, water, and rest. We were shocked to see her begin to improve. We had initially thought she would not live beyond 54, but today she's 64, and in January she will be 65. That's her right now. Through that process, no doctor, no nurse, no one mentioned that she could probably be transitioning into menopause. Everyone was clueless. I was in pharmacy school at that time and studied physiology and anatomy extensively, but menopause was barely mentioned, and I don't recall ever hearing about it. Menopause is a natural biological transition that typically occurs between the ages of 45 to 55 for women and ends the menstrual cycles and has profound implications for women. It is a critical phase in the health of women, indicating the conclusion of their reproductive cycle with a decline in estrogen, and it affects almost all women. However, the healthcare system in most parts of the world, including the United States, is not well equipped to provide women with the necessary support during this natural but intricate transition. Despite menopause affecting approximately 1.3 million women annually in the United States, it remains one of the most neglected areas in public health and healthcare policy. Research suggests that over 20% of menopausal women feel adequately informed or prepared for menopause, despite the fact that up to 75% of them experience the symptoms. For my capstone, under the supervision of Dr. Anke Hermelin, I worked on bridging this healthcare gap. I did a policy review on menopause care in the United States. The topic of menopause care aligns deeply with the principles of healthcare transformations in development engineering because it emphasizes creating innovative, inclusive, and scalable solutions to address systemic healthcare challenges, particularly in underserved populations. Menopause care exemplifies an opportunity to apply these principles by addressing an undeserved yet critical healthcare need with significant implications for women's health, productivity, and societal equity. The aim of the policy review was to critically assess the current state of menopause care in the United States, compare it to best practices from countries such as the United Kingdom, Canada, Sweden, Japan, and Australia, and identify systemic gaps. After analyzing global approaches and evaluating stakeholders' dynamics, the review proposed actionable recommendations to bridge this gap and ensure menopause is accessible, equitable, but also evidence-based. Addressing this neglected area not only improves women's health, but also aligns with broader public health priorities, including reducing health disparities. Unfortunately, the policy review is over 50 pages, and I cannot describe it all here. After extensive research, I defined the policy problem, discussed the history and context of menopause as a healthcare issue. I looked at the policy landscape, did a comparative scope, stakeholder analysis, and power dynamics, as well as barriers. I did a comparative analysis of existing policies in other parts of the world, and I identified gaps in the policies and what we can learn from it here in the United States. In the policy review, you'll find information about current policies in the United States, our political and cultural complexities and how they can affect implementing these policies, as well as the political landscape that explores this topic. I recommended policies with short and long-term goals, suggesting funding models that could work. Development engineering has equipped me to design solutions that address the root causes of systemic inequalities and inequities. In this case of menopause care, these inequities manifest in inadequate access to health care, lack of workplace support, and cultural stigma that marginalizes women during this crucial life stage. As we all know, sustainability is a cornerstone for development engineering, and menopause care requires interventions that are not only impactful, but also financially and operationally sustainable. As development engineers, we are uniquely positioned to design funding models such as public-private partnerships that distribute costs across stakeholders while ensuring affordability for patients. All of these I've leveraged on to work on this very extensive policy brief, and I can share it with you to read if you want it. Thank you. Do you have any questions, comments, or clarifications?
Can you hear us? You can ask the first question to Excellence.
So I have a question for Excellence. Maybe you can briefly describe your methodology, what kind of sources you use, and maybe also what limitations you encountered.
Okay, for this study, I did literature reviews, secondary literature reviews, as well as analyzed policy documents from these countries. I got quite a number of literature, like so many. However, I wasn't able to interview stakeholders, so I had nuances there which could cause limitations, because if you look at the power dynamics, you'll see how the place of insurance companies and the government, and so if I had interacted with them, I think it would have given us a better result, but I relied solely on secondary data. Also, most of the policy documents for most of this country were not full. Most of them were summarized, so there might be some things missing there. Also, I feel that there are also some cultural differences between the United States and these countries, so that could also be a limitation to the report.
Thank you.
Do you want to ask her second question? Do you want to ask a second question, Dr. Hemmerling?
The required question.
Is Laura there too?
I am.
Yes, she is, but she said you could go first since it might be harder on Zoom, if you'd like.
Okay. Maybe then I can also ask you, you know, your program, your curriculum in development engineering, how has that helped you to conceptualize your Capstone?
Well, in development engineering, I've learned how it's very important to look at solving problems like this systemically. And so that's why it was very important that I did a systemic analysis. I understood the power dynamics. And so when I was developing the funding models and the policy recommendations, I knew what could work short term and what could work long term. So I was very instrumental in doing that. Also, taking a course, understanding how to do research, and overall, the systemic analysis was what inspired the report being a policy review and bringing it the way it is.
Thank you.
Excellent, that was great. I was wondering sort of what you're hoping to do with this information, you know, and especially how you would hope to translate it back to the context where your mom was, and so women like her can get better support that they need.
So my mom is now 65. She's way past menopause, and I'm so grateful for that. But then it's so many things are going on now. I intend to work in the aging sector for women as well, do some research. I did a course over the spring. It was called Women, Health, Gender, and Empowerment. It taught us the life cycle of women, like from birth down to death. And the later part of a woman's life is really under-researched and quite ill-informed. So that's an area I really want to work on, and I think this is a start. I've also been in contact with the Buck Institute of Aging, and I also shared this report. I've shared the report with the director for the Center for Healthy Aging for Women. And so the work is not just about living longer, but the quality of life as they age, because women live longer than men, but then most of their life is kind of in ill health and all of that. So it's about improving the quality of life as they age. So I'm following up with that to see how I can contribute to their work and do more in that. And also look at it from the African perspective as well, not just the United States.
Great. I was really impressed by your business and your digital skills training before you even got here. Is there some way you can see to combine these two interests and skills of sort of growing the pie by teaching people skills that will help them have a better life, and also doing women's health?
So the intersection for me is women, technology, and social impact. So whether it's through economic empowerment or health, because if their health is not top-notch, then they can't work, right? And if they work and they have to spend all their money on health, then what's the point? So coming to development engineering through several consultations and counselings, I've been finding ways to merge it. I have an extensive experience working with women across different ages, and I'm hoping that we'll blend it somehow. But for now, they're still a little bit independent, but I'm advocating for several women issues, leveraging technology to make them better.
Great. Yeah, I definitely hope you can build on that network of women that you've already sort of helped develop skills to think more about health and combine them at all, because that's really important impact that you could bring into here. So that's
yes, another thing that helped was initially when we were doing this, when we wanted to do this study, if we had enough time, we wanted to do some surveys, and these women were going to be the group or get their mothers to actually do the focus groups and surveys for us. But then we didn't have enough time to get the IRB approval and all of that, and so we had to just stick with secondary literature.
Okay. Well, an idea for the future.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Everyone, please give Excellence a round of applause.